Hey guys, how you doing? It's October 23rd, I think, and we're gonna adventure into a place where I didn't intend on adventuring to. We're gonna pull the entire belt pulley assembly off. I've already got all the bolts out. So there's a bolt here, 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 and over here. And then there's two long bolts in the middle. And this assembly should be able to come off with some persuasion. There is a guide pin here, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get that out because the threads are so messed up on it, and I don't have a die to chase those threads. But hopefully we'll be able to get that thing out of there. And then we're going to take all the bolts out for the top cover and remove the top cover and have a look down inside there. Now, I wasn't intending on doing this, but I figured what the heck. I ordered all new gaskets for this in the rear. The only thing that is unavailable for gaskets now are the belt pulley drive end here and the actual bottom of the belt pulley assembly. So let me see if I can get this belt pulley assembly off. I'm going to grab a mallet and see if I can't get it to move a little bit, but we'll set the camera here. Now I never want to pound directly on it. Okay, that's broke loose. There we go. So the journal in the drive gear seems really tight, which is good. And let's see here. See if I can get you guys a little sneak peek inside here. So I'm going to take my shop vac down and suck all this dirt up before I go any farther. But it looks pretty good. You know, the teeth aren't too terribly chewed up. These ones are not the best, but I know for a fact that this thing has been ground from 4th to 5th just because of it was a hayride tractor, and I remember working at this hayride and hearing the hayride drivers grind it from 4th to 5th. So let's go ahead and get the rest of the bolts loose. I'll get the shop vac down, suck all this crap up, and then we'll go from there. Okay guys, well, I've got these little brackets threaded in to, this would be the, let me think, the steering support, the rearmost steering support rod. And then I've also got it hooked up to one of the seat mount bolts. And I've got a little bit of pressure on here, so I'm going to grab a hammer and a block of wood and see if I can't get something to move. Well, it's lifting up. Put a little more tension on it and see what happens. You know what? I just noticed something. I had to take a couple of these brake drum covers off. The screws thread into the side of the top cover on these top portions here. So let me get those off and we'll try this again. Okay, let's see what happens this time. Seems to be coming, but these are all loose. I don't know what we're held up on. Whatever it is, it seems to be right in this front corner, but all these bolts are loose. I'll get right back with you. Okay guys, well, what was hanging us up is this guide pin right here. It goes up into the top cover, and all I did was spray a little lube underneath there, and then kind of got a nice large screwdriver in here and just wiggled it a little bit and got it to move up a little to where I could catch it with a block of wood, and I hit it a couple times with the wood and hammer, and up loose she came. So now we just have to get this thing off and figure out where we're going to put it. So Alright guys, we've got the top cover off. It's set aside. And let's see. Everything in the rear section looks good. I don't see any chipped teeth or missing teeth. So that's a good thing there. The front section, the actual transmission portion, the 4th, 5th gear is pretty well worn. I don't know if you guys can see that. The teeth, that's years of grinding from 4th to 5th gear. So that's your 4th and 5th slider. And then the bottom gear here, your direct drive gear, is pretty well worn as well. So we may be looking for some used 4th and 5th sliding gear assemblies along with the bottom constant mesh gear. I think that's what it's called. I'm not positive, but that's what I would guess. All the other gears look great. The front of the shaft, it does look like it needs either the bearing replaced, or we might be able to take some shims out of that. But there's quite a bit of play in there, so we'll see. We'll see once we get that apart. But this is a kind of a intimidating thing for me, is to pull this top cover off, and it's actually turned out like it's pretty easy. It's not too terribly difficult. So the new gaskets should be here. Oh, let's see. I think Thursday, and today's Tuesday. So yeah, making some serious progress here. I noticed, so this dowel pin is perfectly fine, but if you look at this one, it's pretty severely bent. And this isn't the one that was hanging up. This one was actually out of the top cover. It was the front one that was hanging up, and that one is straight as an arrow. So I'm not exactly sure how, if these are threaded or if they're driven in or pressed in. I'm not sure. So if anybody knows, I might be having to replace this dowel pin, because I don't think that's going to really reinstall very easily. So any clues on how that could come out would be great. Otherwise, my other solution would be to just cut it and just have the 2 dowel pins, you know, front opposite of the rearward dowel pin. That would hold it in place. But that's where we're at. I'm not sure exactly how I want to proceed from here. I may consider pulling the torque tube or clutch housing. I may consider pulling that off. That way I have just the rear section here, and I can slide, you know, this gear assembly out a lot easier if that's the case. Actually, I think this comes out the top, if I remember correctly. I think we unbolt this carrier assembly, and then the whole thing slides. I don't know. I can't remember. I mean, not that I've ever had it apart, but I think the whole thing slides forward. So it's got to come out the front, I would think. But anyhow, that's all I've got for you guys today, and that's how you pull the transmission top cover. And for those of you who are wondering, these are the 2 bolts that were holding us up, the ones that attach the drum covers onto the side of the casing. So anyhow, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Thanks for wrenching with us, and stay tuned for more transmission videos probably later this week. All right? Talk to you later. Well, just when you thought I was done, I got a little bit more work done. So, this part was pretty self-explanatory. So you can see there, that's the torque tube, the clutch pedal cross shaft, throw-out bearing and carrier, and the drive shaft. But all that holds that torque tube onto the front of the transmission housing are these 6 bolts, and then there's 2 dowel pins inside that you have to pull in order to get it off. So that was really easy. It's just 6 bolts in the whole thing, plus the 2 dowel pins, and the whole thing slides forward. The drive shaft just bolts onto the front of the carrier with 2 bolts, and then this yoke slides onto the input shaft with a large key. So I pulled that off. This cap here will be ready to remove and put a new seal in. I've got a new gasket coming for the front of the input shaft carrier. I've got a new gasket coming for this, which is the counter shaft, and I'll have a new seal for this, which is the hydraulic pump drive in the counter shaft. So this, if you guys remember back to my Farmall M video last year, I believe, I made a nut or socket type tool that fits in this slot, and then you just put an impact on it and it turns it right off so that you can get the seal carrier out. But that's as far as I'm getting tonight. So I hope you guys aren't too upset that I didn't show the process in removing the torque tube, but it's really simple. It's heavy, so make sure you support it. I used my engine hoist and just supported it, and when I finally got it broke free, I just slid it backwards and lowered it to the ground, and I was able to move it over there by hand. I didn't have to use the hoist to move it, but I'm starting to get parts everywhere in this garage, and this weekend I'm hoping to have everything back together. That's pretty ambitious. We'll see what happens, but this is by far the farthest I've ever had a tractor tore down. So I hope you guys are enjoying this, and as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for wrenching with me for the final time tonight. We'll see you guys later.